Hey everyone, how's it going today? Getting myself somewhat situated here. So today we're going over multi-hosting. So I'm sure a lot of people are aware of the whole 9x9 and just how many resources it's going to take to support this massive map with everything, all the resources, all the islands, everything. So we go into multi-hosting. I've had a lot of people ask me about it, so I figured I'd do a quick video on it. When it comes to multi-hosting, that means that we're going to be splitting up this entire map across different machines, and those machines can be geographically separated, they could be network separated. I mean, the whole point is we can't host all of this on one physical machine. So what we want to do is, first off, look at our actual shards. Okay, we need to know the capabilities of our hardware, of the machines that we're hosting. It's usually good to follow a 2-thread rule per instance. Okay, so per shard. So that's kind of what I'm going off a little bit. They've drastically reduced how much CPU with these latest patches, so it's not as heavy hitting on my dedicated machines. So I'm actually hosting, let's see, I've got 3 quad-core processors in total, and they all have hyper-threading, so they're all 8 threads each. And I'm running 5 shards on each without any issues. So, I mean, I think once the load really gets up there, I think we might see a little bit of lag. I don't know. I won't know until we can really fill up the servers. But right now, everything seems to be flawless. So, first thing we want to take note of is this first IP, .19. The second IP is .20. And then the third IP is 30.87. Okay, so these are actually 3 separate machines. And if we scroll up and down a little bit, you can see we have 5 shards in total for each one of those machines. All right, so 15 shards in total. So once we set all of these, okay, we need to make sure that we have a central Redis. All right, now you could host your own Redis on one of these 3 machines using the included executable. Just open the firewall port and make sure that you have a somewhat secure password. It doesn't seem like Atlas supports complex passwords yet with special characters and everything like that. When I tried it, I was using a 16-character randomly generated one, and it would not work with Atlas. It works fine with Redis, but not with Atlas. So let's see. To make sure that all of them are touching that same database, all right, we want to make sure that we actually set our DB settings right here. Right. now I'm using a Ubuntu 1804 VM, all right, and the only thing that's on that VM is the Redis server. I'm going to also be standing up a Nginx web server with WordPress and a full ticket system, so that way people can put in support tickets for when they have issues. Hey, Smudo, how's it going? And so that'll be one compact VM. All right, it's running on Hyper-V. I have 4 virtual CPUs and dynamic memory with a 4 gig startup, and I'll show you guys that in just a moment. It's very lightweight though. So if you look right here, we have 116.65. You'll notice that that IP address is not on the servers because I'm using an actual V. All right, so this server grid, so your database stuff right here is going to be in your server grid.serveronly.json file. All right, this will be distributed to all 3 servers. Okay, so we'd be using the exact same server grid.json, the exact same server grid.serveronly.json, and the exact same server grid folder containing all of our images. Now you could, host your images on a web page. That would work also, but and I'll show you this in a moment because this also gets into showing the territory maps. I've only started messing with them a little bit. I haven't really spent the time that I need to really dig into it. I know some other people have, but just like on the Play Atlas website, there's that heat map where the claims show up and all that stuff, and you use the Slippy map, and you can actually zoom in and out, and it's really cool. But I would recommend using the actual server grid folder with the images on at least the server that you're going to be hosting your heat map web server on. So we have our server grids and all that stuff set up. So now let's actually look at the machines that are hosting. So this is one machine. We have 4 shards running on this one right now. I'm using a auto restarter program from Canas. Love it. Grabs the PID and it will literally just restart with the exact same launch parameters and everything. So we have all of our batch files set up per server. All right, and you can see we're actually hosting only certain parts of the grid on this one. Our next thing would be to look in the actual install folder, and we can see shooter game, and we have, well, here we'll show all of them. So this one is pointing to the remote Redis, okay, and we look at the server grid. So you'll see that this is all going to be the exact same as the other servers. So now let's go to another machine that's hosting. So this one we have 4 also, and we're also running the territory map on this. Now for those of you who haven't seen what the inside of a Redis database looks like, this is what it looks like right here. It only uses DB0. It's got your players. If we look at a player, so that's your Steam's ID64. If we look at cluster, this is the unique ID for every single server in the cluster. Okay. Then if we look at entity info, those are structures. Okay. Now if you have a sloop or a brig or something like that, you can, I haven't actually tested this. I need to test this at some point. You can rename it, the entity name. You just rename it. So worthwhile checking out if you guys want to give it a shot. Don't worry about that. Player info. All right, and then here we have the actual player data. So we have the tribe and the player ID for in-game. That gives you their player name and all that stuff. Really cool. And then it also says your home server and what server you're currently on. So as you can see, we're all somewhat on different servers right now. And this player is your Steam ID64. And then this would be where your actual world map is showing up. but we'll get into that later in a different video. So that's your Redis. This is just a GUI for connecting to a Redis database, or a Redis server, I should say. So looking at our firewall rules, we don't need to change anything for these servers that are hosted on different machines, all right? Compared to what we would do if we were hosting our Redis DB and the Atlas shards all on the exact same machine, right? If we wanted to locally host that Redis DB, which I'm not doing because I have way better performance just using a VM. I'll show you that. So you can see we have our standard ports open, and these ports are actually not the tracker. There we go. It's just our standard ports that we use. I only have it opened up for 4 servers right now. I'm not doing Redis, like I said before, so I don't need to share out the Redis. Right, and then this is actually the machine. This is actually hosting the Redis VM and 4 shards. And you can see CPU usage really isn't that bad. And this is the 9x9. So there's a lot of there is a lot of islands on each shard. So if we look at this, this is the Redis DB. All that's on it is going to be the Redis DB, the Nginx web server, and a WordPress site. We have a 4 gig static startup RAM and dynamic memory. It can fluctuate however much it needs to. And it does. I've seen this thing jump up to 12 gigs before when we had a lot of people on and everyone was transferring all over the place. And then, of course, 4 vCPUs. But yeah, I mean, it's literally that simple. I mean, you get your standalone Redis DB on a VM with Ubuntu or however you want to do it, and runs super fast, super light. I've noticed transfer times actually drop drastically doing it this way instead of hosting on one of the machines. And so actually, this is something also, if you do choose to do this, what we can do is, let's see, what is it? UFW show number, I believe. Oh, status. So what we did was we created rules only for that IP, or only for the IP addresses we want to allow to connect to this VM, okay, on that port. Everything else is denied across the board. So that gives us some kind of security. That's better than nothing. I mean, I wish we could have complex passwords with Atlas, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything about it. Any questions for the people who are watching? If anyone wants me to go over a complete start to finish of how to do this, you know, doing a Hyper-V virtual machine with Ubuntu 18.04, Redis, and then, you know, each individual server, I can do that. What's going on? Default. Okay, so you guys are going to love this. I'll break it off on another topic. So Default went and made a fork of the server grid editor, and it somewhat auto-generates your power stones. I got to talk with them a little bit more outside of the stream, but it is definitely going to be incredible. It already is so much better than doing it how I've showed you guys how to do it. So I would say look for his tool, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. Alright, so if we ain't got no questions, then I'm going to end the stream really quick and get back to working on what I was doing before. once we have all of the rest of the people who are signed up for hosting the 9x9 community shard, that shard will, or the map will go live. So we're getting closer and closer. Hopefully by the end of this week, we should have enough to get the majority of the map, or at least half the map. So, all right. Thanks for watching.